Handguns are probably the most accurate, lethal, small weapons ever devised by man. Millions of people in the United States and in many countries in the world own some form of personal firearm. Knowledge of the proper use, care, and security of a firearm is the best insurance you can have for safeguarding yourself, friends, and family. No one need risk accidental injury or tragic fatality as a result of firearms handling. With knowledge and proper training, the personal firearm can provide hours of enjoyment at properly designated gun club, as a hunting tool, or in the gravest extreme, as a personal home defense weapon. What you see here is a firearms program for potential gun owners. Veteran firearms enthusiasts will find it an excellent refresher course and a good reminder on the care and safety aspects of their handling and use. We'll look closely at each aspect of safe handgun responsibility.
Buying a gun. Women and guns. Basic rules of safety. Ammunition. Good shooting. Home defense. Transporting a gun, and most importantly, the Bible of firearms.
By recurrent review, you will increase your safety awareness and contribute to the safety awareness and gun savvy of others.
Two main classes cover most handguns. They are revolvers and semi-automatics, commonly referred to as pistols. Revolvers are those guns with revolving cylinders containing several cartridges so that they can be fired in quick succession without reloading. The dispute over which is the better gun, a revolver or an automatic, will continue as long as both types are manufactured. Some say the revolver is easier to handle, while others refute that contention, suggesting that the automatic is easier to shoot. The argument continues. The automatic may jam. Others, particularly competition shooters, say the larger caliber automatics are actually more reliable. Experts seem to agree that problems usually stem from the fact that untrained firearms owners do not clean their guns regularly. Revolvers usually function under such conditions. Sometimes automatics don't. Let's go back to the gun club for a first-hand demonstration of some of the revolvers and pistols available, as well as the safety aspects related to their handling.
The snub-nosed revolver is a good choice of a home defense weapon because it's easy to shoot. A 4-inch barrel is easier to shoot well, but at point-blank ranges where most self-defense and home shootouts occur, the advantage of a longer barrel is not significant. The motion pictures and television have glamorized the gun. Don't fall prey to that false conditioning when considering your firearms purchase. When you find yourself browsing in a gun or sporting goods shop, avoid letting the salesperson impress you with the stopping power of the snub-nosed 357 Magnum. Such guns have strong recoil. They're intended for the expert, not the uninitiated or the ordinary citizen. The service-size revolver is easier for a novice to shoot accurately. Weight dampens recoil, so the kick is noticeably less. The frames are heavier, and the barrels are usually 4 to 6 inches. Things to consider are a smooth double-action trigger. I'll verify that this gun is unloaded and demonstrate the term double action. When handling a gun for any reason whatsoever, it's imperative that it be thoroughly checked to ensure it is not loaded or around in the chamber. Always check to see that the gun is unloaded. Now, let's get back to the significance of the term double action. I'll dry fire this revolver, both single and double action. This is double action. The hammer goes back and falls. And in single action, you cock the hammer back. There are 4-inch smaller frame revolvers in between the snub nose and the service guns. For many people, they're an ideal compromise in terms of size and recoil. There are guns with adjustable sights, smoother actions, and different finishes. For the citizen who wants a gun for home defense, those special attributes should be of little concern. Smooth double-action trigger is the standard by which guns are judged. Of key importance is to see what's comfortable for you. We'll turn our attention now to the automatics. Let's have a look at the magazine. When automatics are kept clean and fed a diet of the right ammunition, they're excellent, dependable home defense tools. The automatic's firepower, 8 to 14 shots, and in some newer models, even more, their rapid reloading characteristics and size are considerable arguments in their favor. Many models are more compact than the 4-inch service revolvers and only slightly larger than the snub-nosed 38s. Once the safety is disengaged, the .45 automatic can be fired with a high degree of accuracy and with considerable speed. It's a powerful weapon with considerable recoil and not to be taken lightly by the uninitiated or the inexperienced adult. Most gun ranges have demonstrators so that you may take instruction in handling and firing of a .45 automatic. 7 shots in the clip, 1 more in the chamber. To operate the .45 safely, you should receive training by a responsible gun expert. In the hands of an expert, it is one of the best of the gunfighting tools. There are many makes and models. Talk to a gun shop owner. Ask their opinions regarding manufacturers and the models they stock. Examine the guns. What feels right for you? Shop around. Quality and workmanship should be your top considerations on your list of priorities. Automatics are also available in 9mm caliber. And shorter barrel versions. In the .45 caliber, the recoil is stronger, so the benefits, if any, should be weighed on an individual basis. Since a gun is made to be carried in a holster anyway, weight makes little difference. The Combat Commander's steel frame and slightly shorter barrel present another choice. The 8-shot capacity, 7 in the magazine, 1 in the chamber. Actually, 5 or 6 bullets in the magazine save stress on the magazine spring for extended storage. A fatigue spring can impair the firing smoothness and reliability of the ammunition feed. Home self-defense, confidence, know-how, and safety standards are built at the range. Discover the world of the gun shop or sporting goods store in your area. Go in and meet the people there. They're usually friendly, interesting, and helpful folks. Tell them you're looking and learning. A quality revolver or pistol is a real investment in your leisure sporting hours, your safety and defense of your loved ones. Be discriminating and act wisely. Through knowledge, let safety be your primary target. There are many types of guns better stored in museums than considered as home defense firearms. For example, the old thumb-cocked single-action revolvers, which must be cocked for each shot. If smallness is a key factor in your purchase decision, examine the high-quality .22 automatics. If you like the idea of compactness, examine the 7 or 8 shot .380. If you're shopping for a used weapon, be sure you do that shopping in a reputable gun shop. They're most likely to have the specialized facilities and a good gunsmith to recondition used guns before resale. Test firing at least 50 rounds is an excellent practice. If the gun malfunctions, return it to the gun shop. The gun should be tested with the ammunition you'll be loading. Mild practice loads may fire perfectly, but you might find that when you've tested the high-powered ammo, it will create jamming difficulties. And this is true of revolvers and automatics. Gun handling is not a skill confined to the male population. There are many champion female practical shooters taking top honors and the big money at national and international matches. Learn to grip the weapon in both hands, line up the sights, and squeeze the trigger until the gun goes off. Thoroughly familiarize yourself with the gun, preferably with instruction from a certified instructor. Your procedures differ little from those previously displayed and discussed earlier in this program. With this tape, you'll have ample time to go back and review them. Choose the best quality you can afford. The most powerful gun you can comfortably handle is your optimum gun. With a solid two-hand hold, even a petite woman can learn to master guns like the .38 Special Snubnose. Hold off on the so-called ladies' guns, the little Derringers and the .25 automatics. They're difficult to shoot straight and often too weak to stop an attacker. The Magnums seen here are hard enough for a man with big hands to control, let alone small hands. The .380 automatic or a 2-inch or a 3-inch barrel .38 Special loaded with light, fast bullets are generally very good choices. Unless you're a relatively large woman, remember to lean into the recoil for better control. The stopping power of the .22 revolver or automatics is more than that of a .25. Range practice with a .22 is a lot less expensive, which encourages proficiency. A .22 pistol is often a fine defense gun for the elderly. A very important aspect of safety is eye and ear protection. You must wear good shooting glasses to protect your eyes, and ear protection to protect your hearing. Shooting glasses can save your eyesight, though highly unlikely there's potential danger of a case blowing out, or in an extreme case, the gun blowing up. Let's review the basic rules of safety. It's always loaded. You can't tell at a glance if a gun is loaded. You must check every time. With the automatic, you drop the magazine, pull back slightly on the slide, and check to make sure that there is not a chambered round. It pays to check carefully. Never turn uprange without holstering the gun or placing it on the bench facing downrange. Cylinder open for revolvers or magazine out, chamber emptied for automatics. At most ranges, guns must be holstered unless shooters are on the firing line under the direction of the range master.
Range open.
Only when you hear those words and are certain no other shooters are forward of the safety line may you resume firing. You may not touch your gun after the range master calls the range close. Most good range masters will send you home for the day or expel you from the range if you disobey the range rules. On the range, this sort of mistaken action is cause for dismissal. In practical match shooting, a dangerous move like this gets even an expert immediately disqualified from the competition. Range rules frequently include these very important points. No alcoholic beverages or intoxicating drugs allowed on the range. No loading of guns behind the firing line. No rifles on the handgun range. No unsafe handling or display of guns. No person under 21 on the range unless accompanied by an adult. Eye and ear protection must be worn on the range. Spectators must remain in designated areas and children must be under supervision in those areas. More importantly, think. Think about what you're doing with the gun as well as what you intend to do with it. Think ahead of your actions. Firearm safety is common sense. Think before you act. Review your safety checklist each and every time you're at a range or cleaning your firearm at home.
What you have here is a good selection of handgun ammunition in varying calibers. These bullets range in their capacity from target practice to actual gunfighting ammo with shock and stopping power. Less expensive practice shells or wad cutters can be purchased in most good gun supply stores. They're exactly the same caliber, and though they can inflict serious injury and even death if misused, their cousins, the self-defense calibers, are what we will discuss here. The .380 automatic cartridge, the 9mm Cartho or 9mm short test has shown that it is equivalent in stopping power to the .38 special round nose bullet fired from a short-barreled revolver. Often called the police special, this cartridge is used by as high as 90% of American police. The debate by police over the .38's effectiveness continues. They say too many shooting instances show that criminals can take several .38 slugs in vital areas and still keep coming. High-speed hollow point ammo greatly improves the .38 stopping ability, but it will increase the recoil and muzzle blast considerably in the snub-nose guns. This ammo is not recommended with alloy frame guns. There isn't enough weight to dampen the kick. With the .357 Magnum shell, recoil will be substantially greater, more than most novices are able to handle. In the hands of a recoil or blast-shy person, the .357 Magnum's rate of accurate fire might well be nil. Civilians should get instruction from an expert before firing this round. The 9mm Parabellum has grown considerably in popularity, probably because of the excellent defense guns lately developed only in that caliber. By slide rule ballistics, it's nearly equivalent to the .38 Special, but is still considered to have less shock power. If after having tried a 9mm gun at the range, you then intend to purchase one, consult your local gun and ammo shop for their thoughts on the best rounds for in-house self-defense. Ask their opinion on the 115 grain hollow points. Like the standard 9mm, the Super digs a small, deep hole. By comparison to other shock-transmitting calibers, the Super has little shock effect. There are cartridges with expanding bullets available that are probably more effective as stopping defense loads. The .45 is a powerful round to control, but is considered by many to be the best all-around defense cartridge. Normally it's this one, the round-nosed, full-jacketed bullet. Ironically, some experts consider this particular shell inadequate, preferring instead this shell the hollow point. But the gun will most likely have to be throated to feed the hollow point ammo reliably. The .45 cartridge has power enough to deliver massive shock. The standard ammo is referred to as hardball and is recommended for the average .45 owners. Flat-nosed or hollow point bullets are not 100% reliable in many .45s unless the feed system is throated out by an expert gunsmith. Then the edge of the flat bullet nose won't hang up when injected into the chamber. Two of the most powerful cartridges made for modern-day revolvers are the .41 and the .44 Magnums.
We're here to emphasize that within 100 yards, the .44 Magnum has the shock power approaching that of a .30-30 carbine. Without previous training from a certified gun instructor, the novice would probably find the recoil uncontrollable. That could prove fatal in a self-defense situation. The .22 rimfire has effective kill power, but poor shock effect. .22 cartridges are known to ricochet inside the body, but there's little effect unless an attacker is hit in the brain or spinal column. You'll probably not go down. He might hemorrhage to death, but perhaps after he's killed you. The same is true of the .22 Magnum. It makes a bigger wound, but still has limited stopping ability. The .22 has its place. It's easy to shoot rapidly and accurately. There's no nasty recoil and no deafening blast to make a novice cringe. Because there's a lot of control, wild shots are far less likely, as is trigger jerk. Practicing at the range with .22 loads is far less expensive, and that may encourage you to practice more often with the ancillary benefit of becoming a more proficient shot. The 25 automatic has very little stopping power and actually has less potency than the 22 hollow point. It's not a recommended round for self-defense.
Most expert instructors agree that good shooting begins behind the sight picture. You must learn to focus on the front sight. The target looks blurred. The rear sight looks blurred. Front sight is in focus with the target resting atop it like a bubble. Sight picture and trigger control are the foundations of good shooting. The problem with many shooters is that they want to watch the target, especially if it's moving. The eye just does that normally. Your brain tells your eyes to follow that moving target, but when you do, you miss. You've got to watch your front sight. The target should be a blur. The front post must be centered in the rear notch with equal amounts of light on either side. Experts have varying opinions as to the width of the rear blade or whether or not it should be solid black or have a white line or dot. Other top shooters recommend undercut front sights, black sights, colored sights. The opinions vary widely on the width of notch and the front sight. Talk to the experienced people at your range or your neighborhood gun shop. Get an idea of what's comfortable for you. It boils down to personal preference. Once you've been shooting a while, you'll be able to make your own decisions, like tennis, golf, archery. Shooting is a sport of concentration. Whenever I come away from a range, I'm always very relaxed. The reason is, I put all the other problems out of my mind when I'm concentrating on that front sight. It's almost like a form of meditation. Everything else is out of my mind except the front sight. Some shooters say it's the most important lesson they learned about shooting. The second basic skill is trigger control. If you're steady and smooth on the trigger, your sight picture remains true. Squeeze the trigger is probably the piece of advice most frequently heard about gun handling. It's true. It may change in a semi or professional match, but for target practice at the gun range, a smooth squeeze will most often be followed by an accurate shot. There's also the problem gun instructors call the crunch. You start pulling the trigger with your finger, but before the hammer cycles, you clutch the gun with your whole hand as if you were going to crush it. Some experts theorize that this is a person's fear of the blast recoil, but the gun jerks down. The bullet will hit somewhere out in front downrange, but might altogether miss the target. Imagine that trigger finger disconnected from the rest of your hand. It should move freely while your other fingers maintain a constant tension on the gun. The only finger that should move is the trigger finger. Some instructors pull the trigger with the outside of the first joint, while other shooters use the tip of their finger. Try both methods and see what feels natural for you. Use the same method on both automatics and revolvers. Making doubly sure the gun is unloaded, practice your trigger pull by dry firing. Do it often. Sight the gun at a target and squeeze the trigger. You'll strengthen the muscles in your trigger finger. Become more familiar with the feel of the gun and sharpen your shooting skill. On the gun range, practice both live and dry firing. Be surprised every time that gun goes off, because if you anticipate the blast, recoil, you'll flinch and be way off the target. Try loading 3 cylinders of a revolver with live rounds, the remaining 3 with fired rounds. On the firing line, spin the cylinder. You won't know if it's a live round coming up. It's easy to tell when you flinch. And great to know when you don't. The same is true for automatics. The secret to a good, smooth, safe draw is to have no wasted movement. Minimize your body motions. The shorter the motions, the smoother the draw will be. Concentrate on smoothness. Quick draw can be dangerous and is best left to the artist. They have special metal deflectors built into their holsters.
Safety is your number one consideration. If the gun barrel sweeps any part of your body or that of an onlooker, you're violating a cardinal rule of handgun safety. Begin the draw with both hands slightly raised. The strong hand moves down towards the holstered gun. It should be a clean, simple movement. Try not to move your strong side upper arm at all. Pivot the lower arm from the elbow. Meanwhile, the weak hand stays raised, serving as a counterbalance. As the strong hand comes up with the gun, the strong hand thumb knocks off the safety, but only when it's at least 8 inches out of the holster. I said out of the holster. Never disengage or thumb the safety off an automatic when the gun is in the holster. Disregard for safety here can lead to an accidental discharge. Finally, the weak hand grabs the strong hand and you push your arms forward, locking your strong side elbow. Assuming you've got your sight picture, you're ready to shoot. When practicing with a hip holster, the process is nearly the same, except that the strong side elbow moves backward to allow the draw. The strong hand lowers, fetches the gun, and pulls it forward and up. Remember, the safety stays on until the gun is well clear of the holster. Be sure that your holster is firmly anchored. The best holsters stay solidly in place, yet release the gun smoothly during the draw. Above all, conserve motion and concentrate on smoothness when you practice at the range. When you're smooth and drawing in a single motion, you'll be sufficiently fast. Another area of endless controversy is the combat shooting stance. You'll be hard-pressed to find two people standing in a similar way at gun ranges or competition matches. I'm a right-handed shooter, so in the stance that's most comfortable for me, my left foot is forward with my body angled like this. Experts usually agree the most important thing is to feel comfortable with it. If your body is straining, modify the position to your comfort. The sharply angled stance is best for me. The right hand comes up, the elbow locks. The left hand supports the right hand. Tuck the left elbow toward the body. This position will stabilize your hands. I found it to be the most stable stance for myself. Raise the gun up to your head level. The gun should be raised. Don't put your head lower and lower. Bring the gun to eye level. Rest the cheek on your shoulder. Practice with this position, varying it slightly to find your own comfort. Lean slightly into the recoil. This way you use your own body weight to dampen the gun's recoil and you gain control. When you're pushed slightly forward, successive shots can be gotten off more rapidly. However, remember most ranges have signs up prohibiting fast firing unless it's a bona fide match of practical shooters. It's common to see television show police and bad guys fight gun battles against each other in the crouch position. The error here is that you've introduced a whole new set of body movements and thereby complicated a maneuver that should have remained very simple. If a life-threatening situation presented itself in your home, things get more complicated when your body's going down while the gun is being raised. On the range or in your home, simplicity is very important. Use the fewest possible motions to achieve the successful end. Keep your feet straight. Stable stance, gun at head level. Stay steady. Use your body weight to dampen recoil and gain control.
You can use this grip for either revolvers or automatics. The strong hand thumb knocks off the safety. The weak hand grabs the strong hand around the gun, and the weak hand thumb pushes down on top of the strong hand thumb. The weak hand index finger pushes up on the bottom of the trigger guard, resulting in a very stable and balanced, strong grip.
A close group in the black. The grip I've shown you does an excellent job of controlling recoil. Also, both your thumbs are safely tucked away. The grip works well with revolvers and automatics. Remember that any grip that exposes one of the thumbs is potential for trouble. Both thumbs should be tucked away like this. Your grip should be as tight on the gun as possible, but short of your hands shaking or trembling. There's a lot of exercises you can do to strengthen your grip. Many competitive match shooters lift weights and use various types of grip exercises. One of the least expensive tools is an ordinary rubber ball. Doing several sets like this each day will greatly develop your hand muscles and help build shooting strength. If you're firing automatics, jams are bound to happen sooner or later. Even with factory ammo, there's always that chance. A common jam is the stovepipe. A recoil spring that's too stiff or underpowered ammunition are the usual offenders that cause this type of jam. You clear it by reaching up with the weak hand, stripping the hole while simultaneously pulling back the slide. The case will fly loose, allowing the slide to come forward. In most cases, this action will allow another round to be chambered. Another common problem is the failure to feed, shown here. See if the round can be properly seated by striking the back of the slide with your hand. If the gun remains jammed, drop the magazine and lock back the slide and shake out the round. Insert a new magazine and release the slide. Remember, with both types of jams, while clearing, keep the gun pointed down range. Never turn with a gun while talking to anyone. Failure to extract a shell is a potentially dangerous situation. If there's a live round in the chamber with another live round right behind it, lock back the slide, drop the magazine, and get rid of the live round. Pull back and release the slide. Ideally, the bad case should eject and a fresh live round should chamber. If it doesn't, don't continue to slap the gun around trying to jar it loose. Keep the gun pointed down range and call for the range master's assistance. Once you're comfortable with the firearm, your stance, trigger, and grip, firing control, some practice with the weak hand is a smart idea. This is particularly so if your strong hand should ever become disabled. The principles are very much the same as with the strong hand shooting. The stance is the same basic stance as we discussed previously in the program. You grip the gun tightly, the same way you do with the strong hand. Remember that the muscles should not tremor, and get a good sight picture. Try cocking your head slightly toward the weak side. You'll probably improve your sight picture. Also, try leaning slightly more forward. Your strong hand should be held slightly forward and bent at the elbow. By holding it as if you were getting ready to go into a two-hand grip, you're providing an effective counterbalance. When it feels natural and comfortable and you have a good sight picture, you go for a trigger squeeze. It's doubtful you ever score a bullseye or be near as precise as with the strong hand. Just practice at becoming as smooth as you can. It'll greatly increase your confidence and make shooting with your strong hand that much easier. It's estimated that nearly half the homes in the United States are armed against criminal threat. Nearly everyone has considered what they would do if someone broke into their home and presented a threat. Your right to protect yourself and your loved ones against criminal harm or lethal attack vary considerably with the governing laws of each country or state. In the United States, many Americans have too little understanding of their legal position and the rights of defensive lethal force. Have you, as a homeowner, given any forethought to a wise method of conduct if faced with that real threat? Because of the multiple issues of legality and individual government and state laws concerning the use of defensive lethal force, we'll focus on the safety aspects of keeping a firearm in your home. I strongly suggest the need for you to explore your government, state, or your county's legal position on the use of lethal force under the circumstance of an intruder in your home. That is your responsibility as the owner of a firearm. Your local gun shop stocking, sporting, or hunting firearms should also have several fine books addressing the issue. Often, the range master at your gun range will be knowledgeable regarding the subject and may even be offering a course on home defense tactics and the laws that govern them. Most confrontations with intruders happen during the nighttime hours, in either darkness or dim light situations. So it's hard to imagine any shooting practice more valuable than night practice. Many ranges now have the facilities and are offering night shooting instruction. The tritium night sight is a self-luminous red sight element that glows in the dark. They're simple to use and easy to install. There are also various kinds of luminescent paint that come in different colors. They glow in dim light. In darkness or low light, allow your eyes to become used to the dark before entering the dark room. Or, if coming from bright daylight into the darkened range, you might try dense sunglasses to aid your transition from light to dark. Of course, there's an obvious necessity of keeping guns out of the hands of unauthorized and unqualified persons. And in the home, that usually means children. Unfortunately, there's no such thing as a child-proof gun. While most young ones like these are not strong enough to pull back the slide of an automatic, they usually are able to release, deliberately or accidentally, the safety and pull the trigger. While most are unable to pull a double-action revolver trigger or cock the hammer, many would be able to hold the gun with both hands and push the hammer back by pressing against a firm surface, say a chair or a step. Judgment as to the child's maturity can only be made by the parents. When you feel your child is ready, you might consider teaching him how to neutralize a pistol or a revolver. Show the child how to withdraw an automatic's magazine by pushing the magazine release button, releasing the magazine. And with the gun in his hand, pushing back the slide, any round in the chamber will be ejected. Now the gun is cleared and safe. You can teach them how to open a revolver by pushing the cylinder release, freeing the cylinder, and then pushing on the extractor rod. This will eject the cartridges, clearing the revolver. At the same time, you can ensure that they thoroughly understand that guns are not to be touched except in your presence. Ideally, you want to teach your children to stay away from your guns and to cope with the situation if his own judgment or that of a playmate fails. These are instances beyond your control. How the fathers of your children's friends have trained their youngsters remains unknown. A little more investment of training time could prove to be one of the best safety lessons you'll ever impart. Tell them if their playmate suddenly appears with a gun, they should immediately tell their friend to put it away and to leave at the earliest opportunity. They must immediately return home and tell Mom, or once out of their friend's house, if a distance away, they should find a telephone and call at once. If the other child persists in playing with a gun, teach your child to say, point it at the floor and let's open it and see if it's loaded. If your child is familiar with the weapon, he can unload it. If he's not, you shouldn't touch it if it's not like yours. If his efforts fail to dissuade his friend, teach him to remain calm and leave at the earliest possible excuse. Instruct your child never to take the gun away from the friend and never suddenly to run, making the other child angrily aim and pull the trigger. When you feel the child is mature enough to understand, start him on a course of firearm safety. Many gun ranges offer such courses for juniors. It's fascinating and fun for the child, offering the family another area of interest you can share. Anyone with children knows that their curiosity is boundless. And if your children are not mature enough to be trusted around guns, then you must lock them away.
The keys should be held only by you and your wife. And one way is to keep the gun locked in a drawer. You keep the keys dog tag style around your neck. That way there's no mistaking where they are. You can keep the drawer locked all day and open at night when you retire. And be sure to lock it again when you leave in the morning. Automatic pistols can be kept unloaded, or with the magazine in and the chamber empty. Drawing back the slide against the heavy spring tension to chamber around and cock the hammer is very difficult for a small child. But remember, it's not impossible. If you've decided to familiarize your youngsters with the responsibility of firearms, then it's a good idea, especially if you have an automatic, to see if your youngsters are able to pull back the slide. Make doubly certain the gun is empty and that no cartridge remains in the chamber before handing it over to your youngster. Remember, a revolver without a bore or trigger lock is not childproof. In the final analysis, no gun yet devised is childproof. They're better left securely locked in a gun safe. A child who can figure out how to balance a bulky gun while he moves the bolts and levers may quickly discover the mechanism that frees the gun to fire, no matter how many concealed bolts and levers a gun may have, making it so-called childproof. You can bet there's just as many children who can figure them out. Gun, rifle, and shotgun trigger locks like the one displayed here can be purchased at your local gun shops, hardware, and sporting goods stores. They're amongst the most important safety considerations in households with firearms, even if you don't have children in your home. What about your friends' kids? They could stop by unexpectedly. The children could find your gun while you and your friends are chatting over tea or coffee. The best idea is to tell friends or relatives who frequently visit to call before dropping in unexpectedly. They won't be insulted if you explain your safety considerations. A gun under your pillow isn't very wise. We all tend to move around in our sleep, and the weight of your body could shift the gun's position. You won't want to have to grope around for the gun if you need it. Another danger, remote yet possible, is the instance of a severe nightmare. Studies have shown that a person may go through some motions during a nightmare. In intense, dream-active sleep, it's just as well you don't have a gun within immediate reach. A word of extreme caution here. If you think you've ever walked in your sleep or you've ever been told that you definitely do sleepwalk, don't ever keep a loaded gun. This is not a good place for the gun. If you're soundly asleep and an intruder has entered your bedroom, the first place he might check for a gun is the night table drawer. Then he'll look behind the headboard and probably under your pillow before you begin to awaken, if you do awaken. The pillow's a classic hiding place, and the intruder's probably smart enough to know that. A lot of people keep their gun here, thinking that the kids won't find it. But if you try laying on the bed and then retrieving from this hiding place, you'll soon see that the weight of your own body compresses the springs and makes it nearly impossible to effectively pull the gun free. Make sure you practice with an unloaded gun, because the added exertion could cause your finger to slip inside the trigger guard, or the pulling action combined with the drag from the compression of the mattress and box spring could cock the hammer. Looks natural, doesn't it? Person reads a magazine until sleepy. He drops it on the floor when he dozes off. A magazine left lying on the floor looks inconspicuous enough. It also acts as a good dust cover.
and you always know where it is. Another good place is under the bed. In this spot, the gun is readily available. In an extreme situation of being attacked, you may have the chance to roll from the bed to the floor and grab the gun. If you intend to place your gun in this position, remember to keep it dust-free here too. Keeping it between the pages of a magazine or other protective covering is a good idea. The various national and state laws regarding guns carried in cars run relative to their viewpoints on guns in general. It's always a good idea to know the law. When you get right down to it, it's probably not a good idea to keep a gun stored in a car. Also, the gun, unless protected by a covering or gun glove, will soon fill with grit and dirt and become inoperable. The car could be broken into or stolen altogether. Then your legally registered gun will be in the hands of criminals. The purpose of a defense gun is to protect you. Since a defensive situation is more likely to happen when you're not in the car, a gun concealed in the car is of little use. When you're on your way to a hunting trip or the gun range, the smartest way to legally transport your firearms is in the trunk and unloaded. Keep the gun in a container or a case. The law usually prefers it that way, and doing so will help keep your expensive firearm clean and scratch-free. Keep the cartridges boxed and off to one side of the trunk compartment. The guns in their cases and off to the other side. Check the laws. Be legal and be safe. Remember the Bible of firearm safety. Never point at anyone or anything you are not prepared to shoot. Treat all forms of guns as if they are loaded. Never play with firearms. Draw and dry fire practice should only be conducted on a gun range, and only after making doubly certain your gun is not loaded, no round is in the chamber, and with the same seriousness as live ammo practice. Check and clear every handgun, rifle, and shotgun, each and every time you pick it up. Keep all guns in clean and working order. Never leave a firearm, handgun, rifle, shotgun, or other type of firearm where unauthorized hands or children may find it. I hope you've enjoyed this program on safe and responsible firearms handling for you and your family. It's given me a lot of pleasure to share this knowledge with you. With responsible practice, you and the family can come to enjoy one of the greatest sports activities I know. If you already own a firearm or intend to purchase one either for home self-defense or sport, then please remember to advise yourself and your mature family members of the legal, ethical, and practical use of the firearm. Refresh your memory often by reviewing this program. And remember, let safety be your primary target.